They say it takes about 6 months to recover from heartbreak, but time is an illusion. Some people spend years trapped in the shadows of a lost love, while others seem to rise again within weeks. Why does the same wound carve so differently into different hearts? And what if heartbreak itself is not what you think it is? Heartbreak is not just the end of a relationship, it is the end of a world. The world you built with someone, brick by brick, memory by memory, suddenly gone. One morning you wake up and the person who once held your hand in the chaos is no longer there. Their absence isn't just silence, it's a ghost that lingers in every corner of your life. In the taste of your coffee, in the songs you can no longer listen to, in the empty side of the bed. But heartbreak isn't only about losing someone. It's about losing the version of yourself that existed with them, the person you became in their presence, the mirror they held up to you, the story you told together. When that mirror shatters, you don't just grieve the relationship, you grieve yourself. That's why heartbreak hurts so deeply, because it doesn't whisper, it roars. It shakes your identity. It questions your worth. It leaves you wondering if you'll ever feel whole again. When love collapses, it rarely does so quietly. It is not a door that simply closes, but a building that caves in. You feel the weight of memories crashing down, each one a reminder of what was once alive and now reduced to ruins. You replay conversations in your head, searching for signs you missed. You ask yourself endless questions. Was it me? Was it them? Could I have done something differently? The mind becomes a courtroom, and you are both the accused and the judge, trapped in an endless trial that never delivers a verdict. And yet, beyond the noise of thought lies the deeper wound, the wound of attachment. Modern psychology tells us that love is not just an emotion, it is a bond written into our biology. When we connect with someone, our brains release oxytocin and dopamine, weaving neural pathways that tie their presence to our very sense of safety. When that bond is torn, the brain reacts as though the body has lost a limb. That is why heartbreak feels physical. It is not only in the heart, but in the chest, the stomach, the trembling hands, the sleepless nights. The ache is chemical, primal, ancient. Jung once said that what we resist persists, and heartbreak is no exception. We try to resist the pain, distract ourselves, bury it beneath noise and new faces, but the shadow of loss follows us. It shows up in our silence, in our sudden anger, in the way we pull back from joy because it feels undeserved. Heartbreak is not just about losing another person. It is about confronting the parts of ourselves we would rather avoid, the fear of being unworthy, the terror of being alone, the suspicion that maybe love is not meant for us. This is why heartbreak is so heavy. It is not simply the absence of love. It is the presence of every hidden insecurity we carry. The breakup does not create them. It reveals them. It opens the box we tried to keep closed. And in the middle of the night, when the world is quiet, those thoughts whisper, "Maybe I wasn't enough. Maybe I'll never be enough." But here is the hidden truth. Heartbreak is not proof of your inadequacy. It is proof of your capacity. The pain you feel is equal to the depth of your love. And though that feels unbearable now, it is also what makes healing possible, because the same heart that can be shattered is the same heart that can love again, that can rebuild, that can rediscover its own strength.
After heartbreak, the world does not stop, but it feels like it should. The streets are still crowded, the sun still rises, the laughter of strangers still fills the air, and yet, inside, everything is silent. This silence is not peaceful. It is heavy, almost unbearable. You lie awake at night, staring at the ceiling, haunted by the rhythm of memories that refuse to fade. During the day, you move through life like a ghost, smiling when expected, answering questions with empty words, but inside, you are fighting a war that no one else can see. This is the silent war of heartbreak. It is the war between the mind and the heart. The mind tells you to move on, to be logical, to forget, but the heart refuses. The heart remembers every detail. The way their voice softened when they said your name, the way their absence now feels louder than their presence ever did. And so you live between two worlds, the world that demands you keep moving, and the inner world that begs you to stop and grieve. But grief is not your enemy. Though it feels like drowning, it is in fact the beginning of healing. Every culture, every ancient wisdom tradition has spoken of the necessity of grief. The Sufi poet Rumi once wrote, "Don't get lost in your pain. Know that one day your pain will become your cure." And though his words sound beautiful, their truth is brutal, because grief demands that you feel it fully, that you sit with it, that you let the tears fall, the anger rise, the loneliness consume you, not forever, but long enough to acknowledge that what you lost mattered. We live in a world that tells us to be strong, to hide our wounds, to replace love with distraction. But the heart does not heal by avoidance. It heals by honesty, by admitting that you are broken, by allowing yourself to cry without shame, by saying, "Yes, I loved. Yes, I lost. And yes, it hurts." There is a strange alchemy in grief. At first, it feels like it will destroy you, but slowly it reshapes you. It burns away illusions. It teaches you patience. It forces you to find strength you didn't know you had. And in that way, heartbreak gives you a gift no one would ever choose, but everyone who survives it eventually discovers the gift of transformation. Because in the silence of heartbreak, you learn that you are capable of enduring what you once thought impossible. You learn that love, even when lost, leaves behind a light that can never be fully extinguished. And you learn that pain is not just something to escape, but something that can guide you toward a deeper understanding of yourself. Healing is not a straight path. It does not happen all at once, and it rarely happens in the way we expect. At first, every day feels the same, heavy, slow, endless. But then, almost without noticing, small cracks of light begin to appear. The first meal you actually taste, the first night you sleep through without waking, the first laugh that escapes your lips, surprising even you. Healing begins in these small, invisible victories, long before you realize you are healing at all. The long road of recovery is not paved with grand gestures, but with simple rituals. Taking a walk even when you don't feel like it, journaling the thoughts you cannot say out loud, spending time with friends who remind you of who you are, not just who you were with them. Engaging in new activities, even if your heart resists, because each new experience plants a seed of possibility. Healing is less about forgetting the past and more about slowly building a future that can hold you again. But there comes a moment of breakthrough, when something shifts. It does not always arrive with fanfare. Sometimes it's in the middle of a quiet afternoon when you realize you haven't thought of them for hours. Sometimes it's in the mirror when you catch a glimpse of your own eyes and notice a spark returning. And sometimes it's in the tears themselves, when instead of resisting the grief, you finally surrender to it. This is the paradox of healing. The moment you stop trying to be strong is the moment you discover your true strength. When you allow yourself to grieve fully, to let the sorrow move through you instead of fighting it, the pain begins to loosen its grip. The storm does not vanish overnight, but it changes. What once felt like waves meant to drown you now begin to feel like tides carrying you toward a new shore. And here lies the great secret. Grief is not a wall that blocks your future, but a doorway you must walk through to reach it. When you accept the pain instead of running from it, you transform it. The love you lost becomes not just a memory, but a teacher. It shows you the depth of your capacity to feel, and in that depth, you find the possibility of rebirth.
Slowly, almost imperceptibly, you begin to return to yourself. At first, it feels fragile, like learning to walk after an injury. But step by step, you start to notice the small truths. You can laugh again. You can dream again. You can imagine a future that does not revolve around what was lost. This is the rebirth that heartbreak makes possible. The rediscovery of who you are outside of the story you once shared. You begin to rebuild your identity, not as half of a whole, but as a complete being in your own right. You learn new things about yourself, things you may have forgotten while lost in the comfort of love. You realize that solitude is not always loneliness, that silence can be sacred, that your worth was never defined by another's gaze. You remember the passions that once lit you up, the parts of yourself that waited patiently in the background, and slowly you bring them to life again. In this rediscovery, there is a kind of quiet joy. It is not the fiery passion of early love, nor the heavy sorrow of loss, but something gentler, the joy of self-companionship. The realization that you can be your own anchor, your own witness, your own safe place. And in this space, you grow stronger, more resilient, more capable of choosing love not from desperation, but from freedom. Because love after heartbreak is never the same as love before it. Something changes. You carry the memory of the wound, but also the wisdom it gave you. You no longer mistake possession for connection. You no longer confuse attention for affection. You understand that love is not meant to complete you, but to accompany you. And when new love does arrive, because it always does, in one form or another, you meet it with clearer eyes. You are less likely to lose yourself, less likely to cling out of fear. You are more willing to love deeply while also standing firmly in your own truth. Heartbreak teaches you that love cannot save you from yourself, but it can walk beside you as you continue saving yourself day by day. The paradox of heartbreak is this: what once felt like the end of everything becomes the beginning of something new. It teaches you how to love again, not blindly, not recklessly, but with an awareness that love is both fragile and sacred, fleeting
and eternal. It breaks you open so that more light can enter, and through that opening, you discover that even after the deepest loss, the heart is still capable of beating with strength, with tenderness, with hope. Heartbreak will never feel small while you are inside it. It will feel endless, merciless, overwhelming. But with time and honesty and the courage to grieve, it becomes something else. It becomes a teacher. It shows you how strong you really are, how resilient the human spirit can be, how the heart can bend without breaking forever. Yes, heartbreak shatters you, but from those shattered pieces, you build a new mosaic, different, imperfect, yet somehow more real, more human, more beautiful. The cracks become part of your story, not signs of weakness, but proof of survival. You are not the same person you were before. You are wiser, more compassionate, more capable of understanding what love truly means. So, when you think you cannot endure the pain, remember this: every wound carries the seed of healing. Every ending carries the possibility of a beginning. And every heartbreak, no matter how devastating, whispers the same truth. You are still here, still alive, still capable of love. And perhaps that is the greatest lesson of all. Love is never wasted. Even when it ends, it shapes us, it teaches us, it prepares us for the next chapter of our story. Heartbreak may take time to heal, but healing will come. And when it does, you will discover that the heart, no matter how many times it breaks, is always ready to beat again. If you have walked this road, if you have carried this weight, know that you are not alone. Share your story, because your pain may become someone else's light. And if this journey resonated with you, stay with us as we continue exploring the hidden landscapes of the soul, the mysteries of love, loss, and the endless search for meaning. Because even in heartbreak, life is not ending. It is only beginning again.